So guys, this right here is what we're going to make today. I didn't want to give you a spoiler, but hey. I have kind of a fun little project that I'd like to share with you. And I did this the other day and it worked out really great, looked good, smelled good, you know, all that kind of stuff. This is what we're going to do. We're going to start with a very small kind of random dimension thing. And it's going to be about 171 by 124 at 300 dpi, or as GIMP likes to put it, ppi. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create a new project. Here you go over to File, and then New. And we're just going to start out, let's start out like in the lesson. It was 171. This is completely arbitrary, and I want there's a whole reason behind me doing it this way, and I'll share that with you here at some point. So 171 by 124 at 300 ppi or dpi or whatever you want to say. And that's really small. Guess what? That's perfect for what we're going to do. All right. So this first layer, we're going to fill that, and we're going to fill that with black. So I'll just make sure that that's a nice, full black there. And then we're going to come up here to this color. We're going to change that into this nice green. Okay, so that background, let's try that again, black. Now we can swap the color over and go to our other one. Now I'm going to make a new layer. I could draw right on there, and that's perfectly acceptable. Whatever you prefer to do. I'm just in the habit of creating new layers. So then we're just going to kind of, scribble in here. Since we've done that, let's merge these down. And if you've painted on the background layer, you won't have to do this, but I'm going to merge it down because that's good enough for me. Because that looks good. From that distance, it looks great. So let's scale it up to, I think it was 1900 something or other. I don't remember. Let's try it though. We'll go to Image. Scale image, and let's turn this up to about 1900. Now that should work. Scale. All right, and that's better. It's still a little choppy, but it's better than what it was. Back it out and take another look. Okay, now let's apply the Cubism filter. So filters, artistic. There we go. And then Cubism right here. Okay, now that doesn't really do much for us because the cubes are very tiny. Let's change the tile size. And we could sit there and click on it a little bit, or we could just start clicking in the window there. I want them pretty good size. There we go. You know what? That's going to work for what we want it to do. Let's just bring that up just a little bit more. One more. No, I like that. I like that dark down there. Tile saturation. I don't know much about this tile saturation or what it does, so you're just going to have to experiment. Okay. Then I'm going to give it a new random seed, and we're just going to play with that a minute until we find something that is right up our alley. We're going to create a new layer, and I'm going to pull that down underneath the background, and I'm going to name it BG for background, and I'm going to name this layer green. Naming your layers is very handy. I think we've talked about that before. If you've got an intuitive name on your layer, you'll know right where to go. Especially like this one. There's nothing in it, but it says BG. But there's nothing in it, but we know that it says BG, so it's supposed to be a background layer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill that with this black color one more time. Okay. Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to add a zoom motion blur filter. So we take this one and go to filters. Filters, blur. And then we're going to do a, what did we say, a zoom motion blur. Okay, that's awfully blurry. Uh, hmm. So what do we want to do with that filter? Let's try this. Let's accept it. And then on this this layer that we just did, let's turn down the opacity. Ooh, pretty neat, right? So that little combination right there is kind of what I was after. Again, your mileage may vary. It might have worked really well for you just adding the motion blur, and that's fine. And we could double check and see what that looks like. I'm going to merge those layers together and just merge them down. And then I'm going to duplicate that green layer one more time. Where's duplicate? You're right there just a second ago. There we go. Okay, now we're going to create a new layer. We'll go filters, render, Fractal Explorer. Fractal Explorer. There we go. And this is what's called the mother image. Got the womb there and the ovaries and the birth canal. See? Mother. I'm absolutely sure that that's what that means. So we're going to select that little area right there for this purpose. Now we're going to take that layer and adjust it as far as the transfer mode. And see if I can remember what the transfer mode needs to be. Worst case, you can always just go and start scrolling through the layers until you find something that you like. And I will find that one sweet spot. And I think that that was the one. So we're going to use a transfer mode of Lighten Only. Use whatever you want, but this one works really well. Next, we're going to create another new layer on top of that. Don't you just love layers? I sure do. Best thing ever happened to digital art was layers. Do you remember Paint back in the day? Oh, I loved working with that thing. It was so much fun. So this layer, we're going to render some plasma. So go into that filter and come down to Render, Noise, Plasma. And this should drop in some nice little plasma colors in there, and back out just a little bit, take another look. Okay, that's okay. Let's increase the turbulence just a tad. Just a little bit. Okay, that looks pretty nice. Then what we're going to do is give it a new seed. I want lots of pink in there. And that over. Oh goodness, pink and orange, blue and green. Gosh, there's a lot of good stuff in there. Let's use it. We could click new seed. If you don't like it, just click a new seed and keep on going. So we'll go okay with that. Now we're going to change the layer mode. And I believe we want to change the transfer mode to LCH color. And that's way down at the bottom of your transfer modes. And that is absolutely gorgeous. Okay. Now, for our purposes, we don't really need this this sub green layer anymore. As a matter of fact, if you turn it off, you can't really tell very much. I do get a little bit more contrast by leaving it out, so we'll just dump it. Let's flatten this as an image. So come up to image. Of course, you can make a copy if you don't want to flatten it out, and it's not really necessary to flatten it out, but this next step is going to be much easier with one layer than four, because we're going to blow it up pretty considerably. So let's go to just an image, Flatten Image. And it takes just a second to do that, and then we're left with the little BG. Now, come up to image, and we're going to go, let's see, scale image. We're going to change this pixels to inches. In the width, since it's landscape, we want 20, and in the height, we want 16. And to do that, we're going to have to tick this little box here, this link, and unlink that, because we want to go a different scale, essentially. Let's see. back this out and type 16 and hit scale. And it's gonna balk and say, oh yeah, you're gonna create a humongous image. Yeah, we know that. Don't worry about it. Just do what I ask you to do. Right? Computers. Wow. Look at that. Is that not beautiful? I mean, to me, that's just absolutely breathtaking. But it could be better. Let's take this and let's add a curves tool. We're going to do a little color adjustment. So click that button, or you could select it from the menu. Find curves and then click on your art. That will reveal the curves tool. Now, you've probably seen this technique before, but you could bring that down and adjust the hue and saturation, or yeah, the hue and saturation. I don't want it to be too bright. I want it to be, it's got a lot of white in it, and I'm not really interested in that. So we can actually take this guy up the top and start changing some things and pull some of that white out. But we don't want to do too much. We could pull this down and make even more contrast. Let's just keep going until we like what we see. I'm thinking that it's this guy's the culprit right there. Oh yeah, if we pull that down, then we're getting a little bit more what we're looking for. Now I can add back some of that white, just a little bit. Yep, and that looks good. Your curve might be a little different, depends on, what kinds of colors you have. Click OK. Ooh, I really like that warm area right there. Those warm areas are so dynamic and just beautiful. But I think that's the way we're going to leave this. Or at least I'm going to leave it. Next step is your signature. Signatures are kind of controversial in art, especially when you're doing production stuff, or, let's say you're a photographer and your customer says, yeah, I'd like a really nice shot. And then you deliver the goods, and right across the front of their beautiful family is your name, which has nothing to do with their family. Yeah, it's a great advertisement, but you've just proven one thing, that you're vain. There's nothing wrong with signing your art. However, don't sign it in a manner that's going to overtake or compete with your art, ever. So, move your signature down to a corner, usually down in the lower corner, and make sure that it's not invisible, but almost. That way, if people want to see your signature, they'll know where it is, and I'll show you how to do that. That is my signature. It's not actually my signature. It's just a signature that I use on my website. We're going to take this signature and add it to everything else. So I'll hit Control A and let's see, select. Yeah, select all. And then we could say Edit Copy. Head back to this tab. And then we could hit Control V to paste, and it'll show my signature in there. And when you know it, it's on a floating layer. Perfect. But we don't want it on a floating layer. So we're going to take that layer and we're going to click to New Layer. So this pasted layer, I can now move. We'll take that Move tool, and you can hit M if you want on your keyboard there. If you're out here, you can hit M. And then just move that layer. And then we're going to scale it. Now that's Shift S in my client. I don't know what it is in yours, but I usually just click on the toolbar anyway. I'm kind of used to doing that. So click in and find a pixel, and it will give you an idea where things want to be. Now over on this side, it's kind of dark. Over here is a little bit lighter. So if I wanted a lighter signature, I could go, let's see, I'll just scale that. And I could go move, and move that over here. Not too bad, right? That would work. Or I could leave that over there and change the transfer mode so that the signature itself is lighter. That is grain extract, and I think that that's what I've used in the past for this kind of thing. So let's do this. Let's give the signature, oh, I don't know, maybe just a little turn here. Let's turn it a little bit. You go rotate. And now what we can do is we can come up to the text and type some text out here. And typically what I do is I name my artwork. So this one, I believe, is going to be Mother Plasma Cubism. Is that right? Is that what I said? I don't know. So this one's going to be Mother Plasma Cubism. Okay, great. Now I'm going to enter, and I'm going to type in the date in this weird format. We're going to do the year first, 2021, and it is 4/15/0415. That's the date, and it is roughly 6:03 p.m., which is 1803. So that's kind of like my own little custom serial number. Hard to fake that stuff when you've got the originals, but that's really gaudy and very big. So what we're going to do is we're going to change the color of all that text. So you can double click this or hit Control A, whatever, and we're going to make that really super small because we don't need it to be real big. Then we're going to change the color, and I'm going to change that to white, just pure white. Or if you're so inclined, you can click this little gadget here. It's an eyedropper tool, and you could select a color, like a contrasting color, something nice, something light. Maybe that color right there. That looks nice. Come up to the Move tool, click on that, and then just bring it down. Here's a special thought on this process. You want to make sure not to come clear to the edge because that's what printers will call full bleed, and you don't want to go too close to the edge, otherwise they'll stretch that canvas right around the edge and you'll never see the stuff. So that's no good. And I think we're going to do another transfer mode here. I'm not sure which one it is. Am I ever? As usual, go through and pick one that works for you. Now see, I like that. That's an overlay, and we'll zoom in for a second and you can take a look at what that looks like. Now see, that's very, very non-threatening. It doesn't overtake the canvas and it looks good to go. Now I'm going to select my pasted layer, which is the SIG. I'm just going to call that SIG because it makes more sense. And I'm going to move that layer until it looks nice and balanced, and there we go. We can actually get it a little closer. All right. And zoom back out. And if it's too big, make it smaller. In fact, I think it is a little too big in this instance. So let's scoot in there a little bit more one more time. And we'll change. We'll click on this little guy up here. Scale tool, Shift S. Look in there. And let's just bring it down. Let's bring that signature down to where maybe it's about the same size as the name. Okay, scale. That doesn't look bad. We can move it now. Hit M for move. Just bring that up just a little bit more. That looks like it's got a nice balance. Okay, we'll zoom out, take another look. And there we go. Well, was it fun for you? I hope so. I sure had a good time doing it. And it's easy. It was procedural. Not a lot of drawing involved. It's mostly just point and click. And you could do this thing. You could generate these types of things for wallpapers, for Canvas, for businesses, birthday cards, mouse pads, all kinds of different things. So I hope you enjoyed it. Have a great time. I'd like to thank my Patreons. I appreciate you very much. If you're not a Patreon, consider joining. If not, please leave a like and subscribe and comment. I read all comments. I don't always agree, but yeah, whatever. It's life. I hope you had a good time. Take it easy.